that second chance for a break that would...
My name is Jem David, formerly Blaisdell. It was back in 2013. I had gone to a party with a friend. It was off down the islands. So we had gone out on a boat, and she had walked with her nephew. It was for her birthday, so she encouraged me to come because it was her birthday celebration. We had a really nice time. I got very ill because it was on a barge. So I have a lot of motion sickness. So I got very sick, and everybody else got very drunk. By the time I got back to shore, it was too late for them to drop me home. So I had to stay at her place. On the way to her place, I had to lie down in the back seat. I was in the back seat with her nephew. It was just her nephew and myself. And to lie down on the seat, I had to rest my head on his lap. She was passed out drunk in the front seat, and her boyfriend was driving. I believe he was also intoxicated. He kept reaching back to try to grab parts of my anatomy, and I would push his hand away, etc. So when we got back to the house, the options were sleep in the living room or sleep in the bedroom with her nephew. Because of what the boyfriend was doing, I felt safer sleeping in the bedroom with her nephew, which I guess was not the best choice. When I fell asleep, her nephew started to put his hands in my pants, etc. When I guess I got up while he started doing it, and I didn't know what to do. So I pretended I was still asleep, expecting that he would stop. But he didn't. He just kept going. I tried to turn away. He would worry, I guess, that I was waking up and stop, and then start back again. I had been molested as a child, so I had gotten very used to, I guess because of that incident, it just felt the same to me. He's much bigger than I am, so I didn't know what to do. If I reacted, if it would have been worse or not. And I was frozen for a while, like I really had no idea how to make it stop, I would say. And it just kept getting worse and worse. And the longer I just lay there, the more I felt responsible for what was happening to me. So I lay there, and he did whatever he wanted. Eventually, he tried to penetrate. I tried to make sure that I was lying in a way that he couldn't. And so he never got a chance to penetrate, but he did enough damage on the exterior where I couldn't sit down for a couple of days without pain. I was just trying to figure out, how do I make it stop? And I came up with the idea to pretend I was waking up instead of confronting him head on, because I was afraid. So I pretended that I was waking up, and he denied doing me anything. They thought I was drunk because I had been so sick from the boat ride. So he tried to use that to cover it up. I called his aunt and I told her what he did. But since I was pretending that I had slept through it, I couldn't tell her that I knew exactly what he did. And I was so ashamed that I had just lied there and let him do it, that I felt like it was my fault. So I didn't want anybody to know that I didn't stop it. She, oddly enough, even though she was a very good friend, her initial response was to lash out at me and tell me that I was crazy and I was lying, and why would he do that, and he's not even attracted to me that way. She said some very mean things about my appearance. And she was very cruel, so I felt even less like I could speak up and say something because of her reaction. I insisted that she at least take me to a doctor so I could be sure that nothing happened to me But I knew everything that had happened. But I was still living in the lie. So I was perpetuating that lie because I was very afraid that anybody would know, especially after the way she reacted, that I knew what he was doing and I didn't stop him. I just lay there and took it, which made me feel even worse than if I had tried to fight and something bad, worse rather, had happened to me. By the time we got to the hospital, she realized that I wasn't kidding and I wasn't lying. So she started to believe me. The folks at the hospital said in order for them to examine me, I'd have to make a police report. Now, if I didn't even want to admit to the person who did it to me that I knew he did it, then I certainly didn't want to talk to the police. So I told her, no, I don't want to go to the police. She said, no, well, if he did this to you, then he should pay for it. She was quite insistent, but I got her to back down eventually. And by the time we got back to the house, the sun had already come up. He had gone to sleep as though he did nothing. When we got back to the house, I was lying on the bed with her talking. And then he came. I guess he figured, because we were now chummy again, that she knew the truth. So he finally admitted what he did to her. And he apologized to me. I was so afraid of what would come next because I didn't consent. I didn't want it. The only person I had ever had sex with before that was my boyfriend at the time, my fiancé at the time, who I had been dating by then for about 9 years. I was very uncomfortable with nudity, sex, etc. ever since I was a child because of the molestation. And that incident, the first time I spoke about that incident was when I was 28. And it happened when I was 9, between the ages of 9 and 12. This time, I certainly wasn't prepared to have a conversation about it with anyone. When I considered the Trinidadian justice system, using the word justice may not be fair, because either no one is ever brought to justice, or those who are, the justice is not set up to help eradicate a problem, but only to make it worse. He was very young. He was 16. And all I saw was that if he went to jail, it would ruin his life and he would come out a real monster. Because if you're doing that already at 16 and you go into the juvenile detention system in Trinidad and Tobago, you're only going to be taught how to be a better monster than you are. I instead decided to talk to her and her family. She convinced me to talk to her sister about it, which is his mother, and to talk to her mother about it, because I didn't want to tell anybody outside of that room.